Hello everyone, welcome to Thyrus Web Development Tips and Tutorials. In this video, we will be building this beautiful contact form which is responsive using Tailwind CSS. So this is what it looks like on large desktops, on tablets, and on small mobile devices. So let's get started. Since it takes a lot of time to set up Tailwind CSS in a new project, I have this repository which acts as a starter kit. I have added this link in the description below. You can go to that and directly clone this repository. So let me copy this link, open terminal. Let me cd into my desktop folder and I will say git clone, paste the link, and contact form is the name of my project. Hit enter. This is done. cd contact form. Now let me open this folder up in VS Code. So the command for that is code space dot. Since we are inside the folder, it opens up that for us in Visual Studio Code. So here you see we have some minimum set of files. The first thing we need to do here is open a new terminal, Command J, and here let me do npm install. What this does for us is install all the dependencies because we need Tailwind CSS, Post CSS, and Auto Prefixer. So this project uses Post CSS and it uses Tailwind CSS as a Post CSS plugin. We have the dependencies installed. To see that, there is no node modules folder here, but we can reload the window. And yes, now you're able to see the node modules folder. Next, we just need to do npm run build once, because what that does is we have the styles.css in our source folder with all the Tailwind directives. And then in our public folder, we have our index.html, which is what we are going to modify. This is linked to the style sheet within the distribution folder, and currently this is empty. So when we run build, you can see there is this build script in our package.json file. So it makes use of Post CSS and builds all the styles within the source folder into the distribution folder, so we can use regular CSS. npm run build. This is complete. So you see this styles.css is no more empty. Let's close this. And now I also have a watch script. So whenever I change my index.html and any other config files, it automatically builds every time. Let me say npm run watch. Okay, so this is running. Let's first check if this is working. So open with live server. Yes, so if you have this gradient, that means Tailwind CSS is successfully set up. Now let me remove all of this and let me change the title to contact form using Tailwind CSS. So the first thing I usually add to my body, the first class, is anti-aliased. This makes the font look smoother. And then, since we have a very light gray background for the entire body, let me add BG Gray 100. Then comes our whole contact form, which is entirely centered within the screen. So let me add a parent container for that, which has display flex with full h min height screen, so that at least the minimum height is of the screen. And then to center the items, justify center, items center. So this makes sure that whatever you have within this container will be centered. Say for example, I am in the center of the page. Okay, you see, so now this is in the center of the page. Now here we can have that contact form div. Here is the form that we will be building. This background color is a shade of cyan, and these colors that you see is a shade of teal. Since teal and cyan are not the colors included in Tailwind by default, let's go to the documentation and see how to include them. And let me search for color palette reference. If you scroll down here, yes, so these are the colors used, teal and cyan. Now to include them, go to curating colors, copy this line, and in the tailwind.config.js, paste it on top of everything. And then here within the theme, within extend block, add colors. And within this, so we are extending the colors, we're not replacing the existing color system. Here, cyan colors.cyan, and then teal colors.teal. Okay, and now we can say bg cyan, so that's probably bg cyan 700. And now this has a full width, except that we have a max width restriction, so maybe that could be maybe around 4 XL. So that restricts the width in large desktop. It doesn't stretch across the screen, full screen. And then padding, an overall padding of about 8. We have rounded corners, which is probably rounded XL, and then a shadow, that is shadow LG. We also have the text in white, so text white. Let's see what this gives us. Yeah, so we have something like this. This is what we need. Next, we need some text on the left and some text on the right. This is the desktop version, but on mobile you saw that this comes on top and this at the bottom. And since we will be designing mobile first, let me open up an iPhone screen, and here we'll add 2 divs within, and we'll use flex call, that is flex direction call. So now this parent div will need to be flex, display flex, and then flex call. We'll also need some space between the 2 divs, which is vertical spacing. So let me say space y, say around 6. And now we have 2 divs, one for the contact information and one for the contact form. So within this, we have all these information. Now you see we have 3 things here, all of them stretched to make sure that there is equal space between. That can be done using flex again and using justify between. So let's have 3 divs again within this, and this would again be flex. The direction is again call, and using justify between we can stretch all 3. Now the first one being a h1 and a paragraph. So h1 is contact us, and the paragraph is some lorem text. Of course I'll remove a lot of these, right? And now the h1 needs to be given a font bold, text say around 4 XL, and we also have a little spacing between the letters, which can be done using tracking wide. And the paragraph is slightly, it has a margin top or a padding top. We could give it a PT2. Also, it's not entirely white. If you notice, it's slightly the same color as the background, but a very light shade. So text cyan 100. Also, the text is a little small, so it would be text SM. Let's see what this gives us. Yeah, so we have the H1 and we have the paragraph in place. Next comes the contact number, email ID, and the address, for which we will need some icons. I like to use the ion icons maybe. Go to that. It's ionicons.com. And if you go to usage, you will see that you will have to copy this script and paste it. So let me paste it here. And then let me search for the icon, which is call icon. So this, I need a filled one. So this is the one. If you click on it, you see the code to be added. Copy it. And here we again have 3 more divs, each for the contact details. So let me paste it in the first one. And then comes the phone number in a span tag. Let's see. So this is, we need to space the divs a little. If the height of this div is greater, so here in the desktop size, this will space out on its own, but on mobile, since we don't have a minimum height on this, everything gets congested. That's where we need to have a vertical spacing. So here we can say space y, say at least an 8 will be needed. Yeah, something like this. And now the call icon is slightly bigger, also in the, I think, teal color. So let's change that. Class, we can directly add a class to this tag. So text teal, say 300, and also it's a larger size, so text Excel. So this is basically a font itself, so you can change the color and the size using the font utility classes. So yeah, the color is great, and even the text. This has to be spaced little, and also the vertical alignment needs to be fixed. So what we do is we add a inline flex to this div and a horizontal space of very little, maybe space x2. Also items center, and now copy the same thing, paste it 2 more times, and this is what we have. So what we do is we add flex to the parent container, again flex call, and then vertical spacing of, let's try 4. It's a little more spaced out, so space y6. Yeah, that's fine. So now we just need to change this to mail icon and location icon. So mail, this is the one. So the name is mail. Also location, this is the icon, which is location. So change this to mail, change this to location, add the email ID here. Okay. So yes, we have that also ready. Then comes these social media icons. So that again, we can find it here. Sorry, Facebook, which is Facebook, copy, paste it here. Now each of these is a link, so it will have to be wrapped with an A tag. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Now this can again be a flex container with a horizontal space of about 4, and the icons need to be a little large again, so text LG. this is white in color, not cyan, so we don't have to change it. And yes, we have it. This is perfect. So we have the left side div, the contact information div, done for the mobile. Let's move on to the contact form. So this is a white background div. So bg white, and then we have some rounded corners. Rounded XL also has a shadow LG, and then a padding, overall padding of again 8. What does this give us? Yes, so something like this is what we want. So let's add a form element within this, and within the form we have 3 inputs with their labels. So I'm going to make this a flex container again with flex call and space y, vertical spacing of about 4. And the form has 3 divs, each of them having a label. So your name, this is a smaller text, so text SM. Here comes the input with a placeholder, your name, and this has to be styled completely. Here I will use the ring utilities of Tailwind to add a light border around the input, and we can change it on hover. So ring 1, which is the thickness of 1, and the color I want it to be a very light gray, and on hover we can change it. Then this has to be width full, and rounded corners, so rounded MD, a horizontal padding of about 4, vertical padding of say 2. Also, we don't need any outline, so we need to disable that by saying outline none. Let's see what this gives us. Yeah, this is exactly what we want. And since we have the width full, it moves accordingly. We're not able to see the label because it's white in color. We can change that for the entire div itself. So text gray, I think 600, that will do. And here on focus of this input, I want the ring thickness to be ring 2, and the focus and the color to be teal, so ring teal 300. We'll see what this gives us. Let me close this up. So on focus, you see that the border thickness has increased and changed its color. Yes, this is what we want. So the same thing goes for email address. We can easily copy this and paste. Change this to email address. And type as email. And everything else remains the same. Yes, this is done. Sorry, there's been a small mistake here. So this entire thing, the label and the input, has to be within the same div. That's why we're seeing an unnecessary space there. Yeah, now this should fix it. Yeah, better. But we need a slight margin on top of the input. So we can just say maybe here, margin 2, margin top 2, here also. And now copy the same thing for the text area message. Just change it to message. And of course, this is not an input. This is a text area. Okay, everything else is same. We just have to add some rows here. Rows 4. And the text area is done. Now we need a button which is placed on the right. So what we can do is we can add a button, and then give it an inline block style and self end. So what it does is it aligns itself to the end of the container, which is to the right. The background is, I think, BG cyan, same as the background of the form. Then text white, font bold, rounded corners, so rounded LG, a horizontal padding 6, vertical padding of say 2. It has uppercase and then small text, so text SM. And yeah, of course, we forgot the message, which is send message. We forgot this text. Yeah, perfect. We have the button also ready. Most of the styling is done except for these two things. So we'll take care of that once we complete the desktop version as well. So let's see what happens to this when we increase the width. So it's great until here. So somewhere at the MD breakpoint, we want the flex column to change to flex row instead. Yeah, add MD breakpoint. We want this to change to flex row, and also instead of space Y6, we want space X6, and also make the space Y as 0. I'll add this here. Okay. So let's see. Yeah. So at exactly MD breakpoint, we see this is what happens. But you see, this form is slightly smaller in width. So it would be great if we could add some fixed width at MD breakpoint for this div, the one with the form. So only at MD breakpoint, we can say width maybe 64. No, that's small. So width 80. Yeah, so that's what we need. For smaller devices, it stretches full width, no problem. But for desktop and larger devices, we have this width set to 80, which is great. So most of it is done. We have the left side aligned, the contact information aligned as we want, but there's slightly more padding here, as you see, for larger devices. So we can change that. So instead of P8 for SM breakpoint, maybe we could add P12. Yeah, this is great. Alright, so the only thing pending now is adding these two design elements. So some circles that are absolutely positioned, and that can be done if we add these circles within the right side div and position them absolutely. That would be the best approach. So for that, what we can do is we can add those two circles here, for which we will need to add relative position to the parent element, and then the circles, so which are absolutely positioned, absolute width of say 40, height 40, BG teal 300, or I think 400, then rounded full. That's how you get the circle. So yeah, so this we have the circle about the same size. Only thing is we need to position one on the right and one on the bottom. So let's do the right one first. Also, you notice that it's overlapping, it's coming on top of the form, for which we'll have to add a z-index to this form and this div. So what we'll do is we need a relative positioning to add z-index. So we can say z10, and this can have a z-index of 0, so it goes behind, it's gone behind, you can't see it. And now we can say right, a negative right value is what we want. So minus right minus say about 20, and then minus top minus 20. Yeah, so it's almost where it is, but we don't want the rest of the circle to appear, for which we need to have an overflow hidden on the entire div. Let's do that here. Yeah, this is the contact form. So let's say overflow hidden, and once you do that, that part is hidden. Great. Now the circle needs to be a little more to the top and a little more to the right. What we do is change the top and right values further. Yes, that's what it is. Now coming to this circle, copy the same thing, paste it here. Now instead of top and right, I think it should be left and bottom. Yeah, but a little more to the top so we can reduce the bottom uh, value here. Maybe something like 16. Yeah, so there it goes. And when you resize it, yes, this is how we have it on the mobile as well. So congratulations, you just completed a responsive contact form using Tailwind entirely and no custom CSS. We just configured the colors teal and cyan. Apart from that, everything is pure Tailwind. Have fun. Thank you for watching. Hit a like and share this video ahead. If you enjoyed watching this, don't forget to subscribe below and turn on the notifications so you won't miss a single video from Tyrus.